14 million views in 72 hours. A 26-year-old man standing in a penthouse overlooking downtown Los Angeles, keys to a Mercedes dangling from his fingers, telling his followers that anyone can do what he did. His name was Dante Moretti, and according to his story, just 3 years earlier, he was refilling water glasses at a steakhouse in Philadelphia, scraping by on tips and dreaming of something bigger. The internet called him proof. Proof that the American dream was still alive. Proof that if you worked hard enough, if you wanted it badly enough, you could escape your circumstances and build an empire from nothing. But there's a version of this story that Dante never told his 14 million followers. A version involving burned bridges, broken promises, and a trail of people who say they helped build his empire, only to be discarded the moment they were no longer useful. This is not a story about whether Dante Moretti is a good person or a bad person. That's not for us to decide. This is a story about what overnight success actually costs, who pays the price, and whether the version of success we celebrate online is the same thing as success at all. Title card: From Waiter to Multimillionaire. The ruthless truth behind his overnight success. To understand Dante Moretti, you have to understand where he came from. He was born in 1997 in a cramped two-bedroom apartment above his uncle's grocery store in South Philadelphia. The neighborhood was working class, row homes with American flags, corner delis, families who had lived there for 3 generations. His father, Johnny, worked as a mechanic at an auto body shop 6 days a week. His mother, Patricia, cleaned office buildings at night. Beat Dante was their only child, and from the time he was old enough to understand language, he understood one thing clearly: there was never enough money. The argument started around the kitchen table, always about bills, always about what they couldn't afford. His father would come home exhausted, smelling of motor oil, and his mother would be waiting with an envelope. Another medical bill, another credit card statement, another reminder that no matter how hard they worked, the math never added up. Dante later told interviewers that he made a decision when he was 12 years old. He was lying in bed, listening to his parents argue through the thin walls, and he swore to himself that he would never live like this, never feel trapped, never argue with someone he loved about whether they could afford to fix the car. It's a story he told often, the origin myth of the self-made man. But there's something he rarely mentioned in those interviews, something that shaped him just as much as the poverty. His uncle, the one who owned the bodega downstairs, had come to America with nothing, just like Johnny. But unlike Johnny, he had figured out how to get ahead. He owned the building. He bought rental properties. He drove a Cadillac while Dante's father drove a rusted pickup. And when young Dante asked his uncle how he did it, his uncle gave him an answer that would stay with him forever. Beat up. You don't get rich by working hard. You get rich by being smart about who you work for and eventually making other people work for you. If you want to keep unpacking cases like this one with us, where every choice has a past attached to it, you can support the work by liking this video and subscribing to the channel so you don't miss new videos like this. At 16, Dante got a job washing dishes at Carmine's, an upscale Italian restaurant in Center City, Philadelphia. It was the kind of place where businessmen closed deals over $200 bottles of wine, where politicians held fundraisers, where people who had made it came to celebrate. Within 6 months, he had worked his way up to busboy. Within a year, he was waiting tables. And this is where Dante Moretti received an education that no college could have given him. He watched, he listened, he paid attention to details that most people his age would have ignored. He noticed how the wealthy customers spoke, confident, direct, never apologizing for taking up space. He noticed how they negotiated, even in small ways, sending back a dish without embarrassment, asking for substitutions, expecting accommodation rather than hoping for it. He noticed how they treated time. For the working-class customers, dining out was an event, something to be savored. For the wealthy regulars, it was a transaction. They were efficient. They had somewhere else to be. But most importantly, Dante listened to their conversations. He heard them talk about deals, investments, startups, acquisitions. He didn't understand most of it at first, but he wrote down words he didn't know and looked them up later on his phone during smoke breaks. Private equity, scalability, customer acquisition cost, lifetime value. He was teaching himself a language, the language of money. And every night after his shift ended, he would go home to that apartment above the bodega, open his battered laptop, and watch videos. Not entertainment, not gaming, business content, marketing tutorials, sales psychology, case studies of companies that had grown from nothing into empires. He consumed it all with the desperation of someone who believed that knowledge was the only way out. His parents didn't understand it. They saw him staring at a screen until 2 in the morning and assumed he was wasting time, like kids his age did. They couldn't see that he was building something in his mind, a blueprint for escape. Between the ages of 18 and 22, Dante Moretti failed more times than most people try anything at all. He started a t-shirt company, printed 200 shirts with designs he created himself, sold 11, lost $800. He tried drop shipping, buying cheap products from overseas suppliers and reselling them online. He spent 3 months building a website, choosing products, running Facebook ads. He made exactly $47 in profit before the suppliers stopped responding to his emails. He offered freelance services, graphic design, video editing, social media management, anything he could learn from YouTube tutorials and offer to small businesses. Most of them never responded. The ones who did either wanted to pay him nothing or expected professional quality he couldn't deliver yet. Dante was working double shifts at the restaurant, lunches and dinners, weekends and holidays, while spending every free hour on side projects that went nowhere. He was exhausted, he was broke, and he was starting to wonder if his uncle had been wrong, if maybe hard work really was the only path, and he just didn't have enough of it in him. But here's something important to understand about Dante Moretti. He wasn't just failing randomly, he was failing strategically. Every failed project taught him something. The t-shirt company taught him about inventory risk. The dropshipping attempt taught him about supply chain reliability. The freelance work taught him about what services people were actually willing to pay for. He was building a database in his mind. What works, what doesn't. What people say they want versus what they actually spend money on. And in the spring of 2021, one of his regular customers at the restaurant said something that changed everything. The customer's name was Alan Briggs, mid-50s, salt and pepper hair, expensive watch. He ran a small marketing agency and came to Carmine's every Thursday night to meet with clients. Dante had served him dozens of times. They had developed a rapport, the kind of casual friendliness that exists between a regular customer and a waiter who remembers their order. One night, Alan was alone, waiting for a client who was running late. Dante was refilling his water glass when Alan started venting about his business problems. His agency was growing, but he was struggling to deliver one specific service his clients kept asking for. Managing their online advertising, not creating the ad, that was easy, but handling all the technical work behind it, setting up tracking pixels, integrating payment systems, building landing pages, troubleshooting the endless technical issues that came with running ads across multiple platforms. It was time-consuming, tedious work, too boring for his creative team, too technical to outsource cheaply, too essential to ignore. Beat Dante asked a question, just one simple question. What would you pay someone to handle all that for you? Alan laughed. For someone reliable? Someone who actually understood the platforms? More than I'm paying my junior designers. That night, Dante went home and didn't sleep. He spent 6 hours researching everything Alan had mentioned. Facebook Business Manager, Google Ads, tracking and analytics platforms, landing page builders. It was technical. It was unglamorous. It was exactly the kind of work most people didn't want to do. But Dante saw something no one else saw. He saw a gap in the market, a service that businesses needed but couldn't easily find, a problem without an obvious solution, and he saw his way out. Dante didn't quit his job. Not yet. He couldn't afford to. Instead, he started his business from the staff room at Carmine's, sending emails and proposals from his phone during 15-minute breaks, building landing pages on his laptop after closing time. He reached out to Alan Briggs and offered to handle his agency's technical advertising work for half what Alan expected to pay. Alan, partly out of curiosity and partly out of desperation, agreed to a trial. For the next 3 months, Dante lived on 4 hours of sleep a night. His days started at 10 in the morning with the lunch shift. He worked until 3, then spent 4 hours on his side business before returning for the dinner shift at 7. After closing, he would work until 2 or 3 in the morning, catching whatever sleep he could before starting again. The work wasn't glamorous. He was setting up tracking codes. He was troubleshooting why someone's Facebook pixel wasn't firing. He was on support calls with technology platforms, waiting on hold for hours to solve problems that would take 30 seconds to fix. But he was good at it, methodical, patient, detail-oriented in a way that surprised even him, and Alan Briggs noticed. Within 6 weeks, Alan referred him to 3 other agency owners. Within 3 months, he had 7 clients, all paying monthly retainers. His side income had matched his restaurant salary. By the 6th month, it had surpassed it. Dante was still exhausted, still stretched impossibly thin. But for the first time in his life, he could see it. The light at the end of the tunnel his parents had never found. The math was finally adding up. The breaking point came on a Saturday night in August 2021. Carmine's was packed. A private party had taken over the back room, and Dante was handling twice his usual tables. He had been on his feet for 11 hours, and he still had 4 hours of client work waiting for him at home. Beat around 9:30, a customer at one of his tables complained that his steak was overcooked. Dante apologized, offered to have it remade, did everything he was supposed to do. But the customer wasn't satisfied. He raised his voice. He demanded to speak to the manager. He made a point of loudly telling his companions that, "This is why you don't come to places like this anymore." Something in Dante broke. Not violently, not dramatically. He didn't yell or throw anything. He simply stopped. He stood there, looking at this man who was making more noise about a steak than Dante had made about any of his failures, and he realized he was done. He walked to the back office, found the manager, and quit on the spot. No 2 weeks' notice. No dramatic speech. Just, "I'm leaving. Tonight's my last night." The manager, who had known Dante for 5 years, asked if everything was okay. Dante said yes. For the first time, he meant it. What Dante did next was either brilliant or reckless, possibly both. He took out a small business loan, $20,000, and rented a tiny office space in a co-working building downtown. 1 room, barely big enough for 2 desks. He hired his first contractor, a college student named Jordan who he had met online, who was willing to work cheap in exchange for experience. And he started advertising, aggressively, everywhere. Social media posts about his services, cold emails to marketing agencies, direct messages to business owners he found through LinkedIn. For every 100 messages he sent, he got maybe 3 responses. For every 10 responses, he closed maybe 1 client. The math was brutal, but it was math. And Dante understood math. Within 6 months, his business had grown from 7 clients to 42. He hired 2 more contractors, then 4 more, then 8. He moved to a bigger office, then a bigger one. And somewhere along the way, he couldn't pinpoint exactly when, he stopped being a waiter who ran a side business and became a business owner. The transformation was complete, or so it seemed. In the spring of 2023, Dante Moretti posted a video that would change everything. It was simple. Just him standing in his new apartment overlooking downtown Los Angeles. He had moved there 6 months earlier to be closer to his biggest clients. Talking directly to the camera, he told his story, the apartment above the bodega, the years of failure, the nights in the restaurant staff room, the moment he quit. The video wasn't professionally produced. It was raw, personal, authentic, or at least it felt that way, and it exploded. Within 72 hours, the video had been viewed 14 million times. Within a week, he had gained over 1 million followers across his social media platforms. Suddenly, everyone wanted to interview Dante Moretti. Podcasters, YouTube channels, business magazines. He was invited to speak at conferences. He was featured in articles about the new generation of entrepreneurs. The narrative was irresistible. Young man from a working-class family, educated by YouTube videos and restaurant conversations, builds a multi-million-dollar business in just 2 years. Dante leaned into it hard. He started posting lifestyle content, the car, the apartment, the designer clothes, the trips to Dubai and Mykonos and the Maldives. He positioned himself as proof, living proof that the game wasn't rigged, that anyone could make it if they just wanted it enough. His following grew to 3 million, then 5 million. The brand was working. But building a brand and building a business are not the same thing. And while Dante Moretti's public image was soaring, the reality behind the scenes was starting to crack. The problem with viral success is that it creates demand you may not be able to meet. After the video went viral, inquiries flooded in. Hundreds of potential clients, all wanting the services that had made Dante successful. He said yes to almost all of them. His team, which had grown to around 30 contractors and employees, was suddenly handling 3 times the workload with no additional support. Deadlines started slipping. Quality began to suffer. The complaints trickled in slowly at first. A missed deadline here, a technical error there. Then they became a flood. Review sites and forums began filling with negative testimonials. Clients who said they had paid premium prices and received mediocre work. Business owners who claimed Dante's team had made costly mistakes with their advertising accounts. Some of the complaints were probably exaggerated. Some were undoubtedly legitimate. But the pattern was clear. The machine Dante had built was breaking down under the weight of his own success. Here is where the story becomes uncomfortable, because the choices Dante made in response to these problems reveal something about who he had become. According to former employees, several of whom agreed to speak anonymously, Dante's management style changed dramatically after the viral moment. BE became focused, almost obsessively, on the premium clients, the ones paying the highest fees. Lower-tier clients, the ones he had built his early success on, received less attention. When staff raised concerns about workload, Dante's response, according to multiple sources, was some variation of, "If you can't handle it, there are 100 people who want your job." His marketing, once relatively straightforward, became more aggressive. Promises that stretched the truth, testimonials that emphasized best-case scenarios, claims about results that, according to former employees, were not representative of what most clients actually experienced. The lifestyle content continued. The cars, the watches, the trips, all of it funded in part by an image that was becoming increasingly disconnected from reality. We reached out to Dante Moretti multiple times during the production of this documentary. He declined to comment on any specific allegations, but provided a general statement describing his business as a work in progress, like any young company, and characterizing former employee complaints as the perspective of people who weren't the right fit for a high-growth environment. But the business problems were only part of the fallout. There were also the personal costs, the relationships that didn't survive the climb. Remember Jordan, the college student who was Dante's first hire? The one who worked cheap in exchange for experience? Jordan was more than an employee. They had become friends, collaborators. Jordan had been there through the darkest days when the business was just a dream and a stack of unpaid invoices. According to mutual acquaintances, Jordan expected to share in the success, a partnership maybe, at minimum, recognition for being there from the beginning. Instead, as the business grew, Jordan's role shrank. Responsibilities were transferred to new hires. When Jordan asked about the partnership they believed had been promised, Dante reportedly said there had been a miscommunication. Jordan left the company in 2022. They are no longer in contact with Dante. Jordan was not the only early supporter who felt used and discarded. Several people who knew Dante during his waiter years, people who had encouraged him, lent him money, helped him through the hard times, say they were gradually pushed aside once he no longer needed them. Once he made it, one former friend told us, it was like we were reminders of where he came from, and he didn't want to be reminded. In February 2024, a popular YouTube channel focused on exposing questionable business practices released a 30-minute video about Dante Moretti. The video compiled client complaints, employee testimonials, and evidence suggesting that Dante's marketing had been, at minimum, misleading about the results clients could expect. The video was viewed over 8 million times. It trended across multiple platforms. More former employees came forward. Screenshots of internal communications were leaked online, showing conversations where Dante allegedly discussed squeezing every dollar from customers and described unhappy clients as noise to be managed. Dante's response was strategic. He released a carefully worded video acknowledging that mistakes were made during a period of rapid growth, but insisting that he had always acted in good faith and was committed to doing better. He did not address specific allegations. He did not apologize to specific individuals. He did not admit wrongdoing. The video received mixed reactions. Some followers accepted it as genuine accountability. Others called it corporate damage control disguised as vulnerability. As of the production of this documentary, Dante Moretti is still a multimillionaire, at least on paper. His business is still operational, though significantly smaller than at its peak. He still posts lifestyle content, though less frequently. He still has millions of followers, though engagement has dropped significantly. The legal situation is less clear. Several former clients have threatened lawsuits. The outcomes remain pending. So what do we make of Dante Moretti? Is he a cautionary tale about the dangers of scaling too fast and caring too little about the people who help you climb? Or is he simply a product of the system, a young man who played by the rules of the attention economy and won, at least by the metrics that society told him mattered? There are people who still defend him, who argue that business is hard, that not everyone can be satisfied, that the critics are jealous or naive about what success really requires. There are others who see him as everything wrong with the hustle culture we've created. A culture that celebrates the destination so intensely that it ignores everything that was sacrificed to get there. We are not here to tell you what to think. We are here to tell you that the next time you see someone on your screen, standing in a penthouse, telling you they came from nothing and built an empire through pure determination, the next time you're tempted to believe the story they're selling, maybe ask a different question. Not how did they do it, but what did it cost and who paid the price? Because the real story of success is rarely the one that goes viral. It's the one that never gets told at all. If this story made you think, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because we release new documentaries every week that go beyond the headlines and into the truth. Drop a comment below. We want to know your take. Is Dante Moretti a symbol of what hustle culture creates? Or is he just someone who made mistakes while chasing the dream we all say we want? Share this video with someone who needs to see it, someone who's being sold the overnight success fantasy. They deserve to know the whole story. And if you haven't already, watch our previous documentary. It's linked right here. You won't see social media the same way again. We'll see you in the next one.